Hi, this is Liam Rogers going over the reproductive system. Today I will be going over the basics of the reproductive system. Here we have an image of the 23 pairs of chromosomes in a sample human genome. And on the bottom right, you can see the sex chromosomes there, X and Y. The other 22 pairs are autosomes, non-sex chromosomes. That introductory slide image leads nicely to our first topic, which is sex determination. So male gonads are the testes, which produce sperm, and the female gonads are ovaries, which produce the eggs. Female gametes can give an X chromosome, while males can give either an X or a Y chromosome. So an XX individual is female, while an XY is male. As we saw in the first slide, XY, that would be a male. Now, any individual that has a Y chromosome, even an irregular pattern of sex chromosomes, as an XXY individual, that would be a male. Whereas someone who is only an X chromosome, that would be a female. That is a disorder called Turner syndrome. That individual would not be able to reproduce properly. You need an X chromosome to survive, though, because the Y chromosome does not have enough information encoded on it to produce a living individual. So someone with just a Y chromosome would not be able to survive. Now, the bipotential gonad has an outer cortex and an inner medulla. This cortex can become ovarian tissue, while the medulla can become the testes. And there are two accessory ducts, and you can see on the side, on the right here, the SRY gene directs male development. Now, if this is released, multiple proteins can cause the medulla to differentiate into the testes. And interstitial cells can secrete testosterone, which develop the Wolffian ducts into the accessory structures of a male. And DHT, another hormone produced by testosterone, leads to the external genitalia of the male to develop. Also, Sertoli cells secrete anti-Mullerian hormone, which causes a regression of the Mullerian duct and would mean that the individual would not be a female. In the absence of DHT, female characteristics develop rather than male, and in the absence of AMH, the Mullerian duct would become female reproductive structures. Here we'll go over some reproduction basics, mainly gametogenesis. So in gametogenesis, mitosis and meiosis take two end germ cells and eventually produce one end gametes. If you look on the right-hand side of the image, on the left, on the male side, we see that the germ cell is spermatogonium. The first round of, or the only round of mitosis produces the primary spermatocyte. The first round of meiosis produces secondary spermatocytes. And the second round of meiosis produces the spermatids, which form the sperm. One primary spermatocyte yields 4 sperm. Then on the female side, on the left, the germ cell is called the oogonium. Mitosis results in the primary oocyte. First round of meiosis results in a secondary oocyte and the first polar body, which degenerates. And then the second round of meiosis actually doesn't finish until the sperm fertilizes the egg. so it stays like that for a while. But then, during fertilization, the half-sister chromatids separate the egg from the second polar body, and that finishes off gametogenesis for the female side. And then some important hormones to review. The ovaries produce estrogens, mainly estradiol, and the testes produce testosterone and its more potent derivative, DHT. Aromatase can lead androgens to become to estrogens also. That is important to know. And gonadotropin-releasing hormone releases two very important hormones called follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Now, FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone, leads to gamete production. LH, the luteinizing hormone, leads to endocrine cells and steroid and peptide hormones. In females only, LH can also assist in gamete production. Reproductive system. The external genitalia are the penis and the scrotum. And accessory organs include the prostate gland, the seminal vesicles, and the butyrothal glands. And all of these contribute to the semen, which is the liquid that sperm is stored in. And what's very important here is the seminiferous tubules, and you can see on the diagram on your right, that's the purple area at the bottom there. And here, Sertoli cells are a major contributor in sperm. So these produce cell products that assist in the development of sperm. They also produce an androgen-binding protein. It binds to testosterone and can keep testosterone in the tubule. This is important because testosterone also is necessary for the development of sperm. Testosterone is made by interstitial cells higher up there in that tannish area, in that layer above, in between the tubules. And testosterone can either go to the tubule sperm development, or it can go to other parts of the body. And here we can see that the hormone we already reviewed, FSH, is responsible for the production of Sertoli cells, while LH is responsible for the production of interstitial cells. And androgens influence the primary and secondary sex characteristics of males. Now we can move on to the female reproductive system. The external genitalia, in unison, represent the vulva. The clitoris is a small bud of erectile tissue. The cervix connects the vagina to the uterus, and sperm must travel through the cervix to get to the fallopian tubes in order to fertilize an egg. Now, the three cycles of the ovarian cycle are the follicular phase, which is shown in follicular growth in ovaries, and this is the most variable length stage. This can last 10 to 21 days. During ovulation, follicles ripen, the ovary releases oocytes, and in the luteal phase, the transformation of ruptured follicle into corpus luteum occurs. This secretes hormones to prepare for pregnancy, and if pregnancy does not occur, it stops after 2 weeks, and the cycle begins again. Now, the endometrial lining cycle, menses, takes place, which is the bleeding of the uterus at the beginning of the follicular phase. The proliferative phase, which occurs during the late follicular phase, and the endometrium adds new layers in anticipation of possible pregnancy. And finally, the secretory phase. After ovulation, hormones from the corpus luteum convert thickened endometrium into a secretory structure, and this corresponds to the luteal phase. And then the image on the right is helpful here, just to follow along with the hormones being released at each time. So in the early to mid follicular phase, GnRH, FSH, and LH are all inhibited as estrogen is increasing. GnRH later on in the follicular phase and during ovulation releases the luteinizing hormone. And then at the late luteal phase, both the FSH and LH are again being produced in high levels. Now we move on to procreation. On the right, we have an image about different stimuli that can lead to the parasympathetic nervous system in a male, causing extra blood flow to the penis to cause an erection. The erect penis penetrates the vagina during sexual intercourse. So the 4 phases of sexual intercourse are excitement, as you can see on the right, having sexual thoughts, erotic stimuli leading to this. And during plateau, all of these stimuli in men and women both increase. Then orgasm, pleasurable contractions in the male and the woman lead to an increase in blood pressure, increase in heart rate, increase in respiratory rate. Ejaculation in the male, and uterus contractions in the female. Then the last step in resolution, everything starts to return to normal. Here we have our final slide of information on pregnancy. Capacitation allows sperm to swim rapidly toward the egg to fertilize in the fallopian tube. And then on the left, we have a very helpful diagram here, just of the timeline, the general timeline of fertilization. So we have ovulation as step 1 there. Fertilization represents day 1. In 2 to 4 days, cell division begins to take place if the egg is successfully fertilized by the sperm. In day 4 to 5, a blastocyte reaches the uterus. In days 5 to 9, the blastocyte then implants. And during pregnancy, the placenta is very important and allows for oxygen and nutrient delivery to developing embryos. A couple of important hormones include HCG, which allows for implantation of the embryo in the uterine wall, and HCS, which is related to growth hormone, and prolactin is necessary to prepare the mother for lactation after pregnancy. During delivery, contractions of the uterus with positive feedback loops from cervical stretch and oxytocin cause delivery. These hormones and contractions stop release, and the contraction ends with delivery of the baby. Thank you for listening to this presentation on some basics of the reproductive system. I hope it was helpful and informative.